In this tutorial, we'll be creating a new template. I'll start by opening the UO contract macro-enabled template in Word. When we create a new template, it's important to know that what we're really doing is creating a new macro that adds clauses to the document. I'll begin by opening the Developer tab and clicking Record Macro. This opens a Record Macro toolbox. The macro name should be the name of the new template. Notice that there's no spaces or special characters in the macro name. We don't need to assign the macro to a button or the keyboard, as the macro will be called from code. The macro should be stored in the current document, in this case the UO contract macro-enabled template. In the description box, we can give a short description of our template. I'll click OK to start recording the macro. You see our cursor has turned to a tape recording icon. This means the macro is recording. It's important to remember that every action the user takes now will be recorded by the macro. I'll add a clause now to the document and confirm that it's been recorded to the macro. To do this, I'll start by clicking the Insert tab and then selecting the Quick Parts pull-down, displaying a list of our clauses. Remember, clauses are just quick parts or building blocks. The first clause I'd like to select is Clause 1. I'll click it to insert it into the document. The next clause I'd like to select is Clause 2. I'll click it to insert it into the document. And finally, I'll insert Clause 3. Now that my clauses have been inserted into the document, I want to confirm that they've been saved to the macro. I'll click on the Developer tab, pause our recording, and then open Visual Basic to view the code that the macro has written. Here I can confirm that the macro has recorded the insert of my 3 clauses. With my macros recorded successfully, I can now stop the macro recording. I'll close Microsoft Visual Basic, and on the Developer tab, click Stop Recording. Now that my new contract template has been created, I'd like to add it to the Contract Type pull-down under the LCM tab. This is where all the contract names are displayed. To get our new contract name to display in this drop-down, we'll have to add some code in a few places. I'll open up the Developer tab and start Visual Basic. I'll open up the Ribbon Control module where the code for the drop-down is stored. The first method we'll change is the getDD index, the get drop-down index. We're going to add another case to our statement. This will allow for our new macro, or the new template macro. From our IntelliSense, select our template name. This tells Microsoft Word which macro to run when you make a selection from the Contract Type dropdown. The next method we have to change is the getDropdownCount, getDDCount. Since we've added a new case to our dropdown, we'll have to increase this by 1. Finally, we'll have to modify the getDD labels, get drop-down labels. This is the piece of code that actually puts the name inside the drop-down. I'll scroll over to the end to the last entry. Here, I'll add our new contract name. Now I can save the code. With our code changes complete, I can now close Microsoft Visual Basic. Before I save the template back to the server, I want to remove all the text from the body. If we remember from a previous tutorial, if you save text in the body of a template, every time you create a new document based on that template, that text will display in the body of the new document. I'll select all of the text by using Ctrl-A and then Delete. Then I'll click the small Save icon in the title bar, which saves the template back to the server. Now I'd like to confirm that my contract name will be displayed in the contract type dropdown. To do this, I'll have to close the template and reopen it. I'll open the contract type dropdown to confirm my contract name is there. Now I'll select it to confirm that the macro will run correctly. Now when a user creates a new contract from the LCMS site, the new template will be available.